Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Anthony, and you're here for another episode of Let's Clear the Air. So let me introduce my two guests today. They're from SEIU 2015, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
My name is Enrique Camacho. I'm a home care provider. I live in the city of San Bernardino. I provide care for, I have 3 kids with autism, let's put it that way, but I provide care to one of them, my wife to the 2 others, and also part of the SEIU Union Executive Board. I'm Executive Vice President part of the union.
My name is Sergio, and I am the Regional Director for SEIU 2015. So I'm really lucky and honored to work with caregivers such as Enrique and also nursing home caregivers across the Inland Empire, but also across other counties as well, like Orange County, San Diego County, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties.
Who do you exactly represent? And in particular, I know you kind of mentioned this, but what are the regions that you represent as well?
So for our particular local SEIU 2015, we represent about over 380,000 caregivers across the state of California, all the way from the San Diego County all the way up to the Oregon border. And we represent workers that provide care for seniors, people with disabilities. Through the IHSS program is our main number of workers that we represent. So in counties like Los Angeles and Ventura and here in San Bernardino, we represent those caregivers, but we also represent skilled nursing facilities across the state. So we represent a lot of nursing home caregivers as well. And here in San Bernardino and Riverside, we have about 8 nursing homes that we represent. Some of them are institutes of mental diseases, which house a different type of client that they take care of there. And in some counties in the north, we do represent private agencies. So those are the private home care agencies that you might often hear about on TV or commercials about. We represent some of those workers as well in the union. And our goal is to continue to grow because we believe that if we unite together with one voice, we have more power to represent all of the workforce that is a growing workforce that we know is one of the fastest growing in the country, and that we know because of the senior population, because the way that they're aging, a lot of the baby boomers reaching those golden years, or when they need care, we know there's going to be even higher demand for caregivers. There's currently now not even adequate numbers of caregivers. We see about a 33% turnover rate in the state. And so we really believe that there's ways that we can remedy that. We believe that, one of them being through contract negotiations and negotiating for better wages and benefits, but also creating more of a workforce that has a career pathway. So a lot of these jobs right now are some of the lowest paying, have some of the least amount of benefits, and also there's no career ladder for folks, right? So folks don't see themselves entering this as a career. The folks that do it start off seeing it as a job in many cases. So we want to change that dynamic, and we think if we create more of a workforce that is better trained, that has the ability to see themselves as part of joining a workforce that has a career movement, that we could do something about addressing these huge gap and the need for more caregivers.
We've been at minimum wage for some years already, and it's hard to make ends meet when you're at minimum wage. Asking for just a little bit more is not, I think, too much to ask for. Especially a lot of our providers, they live, paycheck to paycheck, and scratching every single last dollar or cent just to make ends meet. I know how it is. I've been in there for a long time. For a while there, we were getting a little bit better than minimum wage, but now for the last several years, at minimum wage. And every time we negotiate with the county to do a little bit better, they don't want to talk about wages at all. I've been part of 3 bargaining teams already. Every single one of them, they have not wanted to negotiate wages at all. And I think we're at a point where we're just fed up. We were fed up with not wanting to put forth anything, one single penny into anything. And so I know the minimum wage has been going up, but minimum wage going up just to keep up with inflation, with the cost of everything going up. Right. And so you're not improving yourself at all. So you're waiting that next paycheck just to pay your next bill, and you can't live like that. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I have my wife and I, and let's put it that way, and that's saying just myself. So my wife, we both have 3 autistic kids, severe autism. And and you live with the pain of knowing that your kids are never gonna grow up to have a normal life like anybody else. You grow with the pain, of seeing them not being able to progress and do the things that you know that they should be able to do, because they're not gonna be able to go on and enjoy their life, like have a family like I do, like any other person would like to do.
We've been advocating for the wages going up, and our union and our leadership has been a part of promoting the minimum wage increase that has us going up to $15 by the year 2022. That was a result of the work, partly of workers like Enrique, who stood up and got petitions and went to the streets and took to the streets in conjunction with fast food workers and united with folks across this whole state to really pressure and put pressure on the governor, then Governor Brown, to make that happen. It wasn't because employers or the government wanted to do it, right? It took a lot of people power to do that. And now, like Enrique is saying, is that it's not enough, right? And so workers are fed up. And we see in these communities, in both Riverside and San Bernardino, areas that are hugely impacted with poverty. We have most of our providers could qualify for food stamps. Most of our providers could qualify for a lot of different services, and some of them do, and they need the assistance from the government just to survive. And what we're saying is we could see it in two different ways. We could have them continue to be dependent on that, or we could do something about it, and the government officials could actually take ownership and try to fight poverty by bringing these workers above minimum wage as a one step, right? We know it won't solve all the issues, but it is a first step that kind of puts a little bit more on someone's pocket. You're talking about the median income that folks bring in as caregivers being $14,000 a year. And we know it takes like at least 6 times that to survive, right? Just to survive. And that's just a one person income, right? So we know it's not enough. We know we can take remedies and steps to fix 2 problems: poverty, but also the fact that we don't have enough caregivers. And so if we don't create the incentives through the work, wages, and benefits, we're not going to address the bigger problem of not having enough caregivers either. And so right now, this month, the county has been talking about it being Poverty Awareness Month, right?
Talking about San Bernardino County? San
Bernardino County, yeah. And so what's interesting about that is that it's kind of ironic that they're putting that out there, yet with our own workers, their own contracted workers through the IHSS Public Authority, they're not choosing to actually put that into motion through some action. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
San Bernardino County is having their Board of Supervisors meeting. And one of the things that SEIU has been pushing for a long time is for a better contract. Is that correct? Yes. And so can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
We've been negotiating for the county since pretty much last year. This upcoming June will be almost a year. And just to give a little bit of background, there are over 26,000 IHSS caregivers like Enrique in San Bernardino County. They take care of approximately 31,000 consumers of the program. These are seniors. These are folks that are living with some kind of disability, and they provide care for them at home. So you're talking about easily over 50,000 people that this impacts. And we have been, the caregivers have been increasingly frustrated with the lack of response of actual solutions being brought to the table by San Bernardino County. And what is interesting to us also is that what is good, what we are seeing is a community response. So we've seen an outpouring of support for caregivers from faith leaders to other union members and other unions, to like a wide array of coalition members that are standing besides caregivers next to them, with them in this fight. But unfortunately, we're down now having negotiated numerous sessions with the county, and the county is still proposing $0 on the wage increase, which continues the pattern of that we've seen from this county of not providing any wage increase for the workers from the county in over 9 years now. Additionally, we know that about a third of the caregivers would benefit from having health care from their employer, And this county currently only covers 600 workers out of the whole 26,000 workers. And their proposal, I think, falls very short. Their proposal is only hoping to cover about 300 more. So you're talking about only covering 900 caregivers when we know that approximately, at least, I would say, probably 8,000 caregivers could actually really benefit and could really use healthcare. We have a lot of folks that have made decisions, and I've heard at the Union Hall of stories where folks are going without their prescriptions. They're medicating themselves, meaning they're choosing, I can't afford this prescription this time, so I'll only pay for this other prescription this month, and I'll get the other one next month. And then they're swapping stuff. It's really dangerous what's happening out there. You have folks that can't afford the covered California plans that know they need care. And the other problem is that if you continue to only cover a very small group of folks, my understanding is the way that healthcare works, the more people you cover, the likelihood that you're going to cover a variety of folks, some that are going to be really healthy, some that might need some care, some that will need a lot of care. Well, if you keep covering a small pool, you're going to keep covering a group of folks that their care is going to just increase, but you're not replenishing that pool with maybe younger folks or maybe folks that are more healthy that may not use the coverage. So what's going to happen is that coverage will become more expensive. Less people will be covered. So we think a better solution is to actually cover more folks, provide that variety to the county so that it won't also cost the county too much. And the other thing is that, we have, like I mentioned earlier, we advocated for the minimum wage increase years ago under Governor Brown. We also, workers like Enrique, caregivers, go up to Sacramento, and every year that there's a state budget, and ask the state to provide more funds so that the counties can cover these programs. There are these funds called realignment funds that kind of come back to the counties. And what our research showed is that this county is covered 100% for this program.
That means that they're getting money from the state then, particularly for this program.
Yeah, they're getting for this program and other like social services.
Okay.
But yeah, they could cover this program, right? And what we saw in the proposed budget from Gavin Newsom, the new governor, is that there's going to be even an influx of more monies for the counties to provide for programs such as IHSS in their counties. And so we're seeing that, the fruit of all the labor of caregivers going up to Sacramento. And we've also seen wage increases and I could name some of the counties in a bit, but we've seen wage increases in Ventura County, LA County, San Francisco County, Alameda County, Trinity County. I mean, it's just small, big, medium, even Sacramento County. So like a lot of counties across the state are making the right choice and investing more in the workers, right? And so we believe that a county like San Bernardino could make that choice, but it's choosing to, for whatever reason, it's choosing to not invest in these workers, and we think that puts in jeopardy the lives of seniors, people with disability who need that care, who need that caregiver, because now and in the future, we're going to continue to have these retention problems, which puts in jeopardy folks that need the care, that need those caregivers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Sergio just mentioned here at the end about the retention problem with providers caring for the seniors. A lot of people, come to me and say, well, you don't have that problem. You're their dad. You have no problem. You're never going to leave them alone, which is true. I'm never going to abandon my kids. However, what I worry about is that I'm not going to always be there. There'll become a point when I cannot be there anymore for them. And that worries me, because who's going to provide that care to them eventually, when they need so much care that I don't know if anybody's going to want to do the work to make sure that they're okay because of all the things that they need. For somebody to get paid, and they continue at this pace where it's only minimum wage, nobody's going to want to go out there and provide care to my kids and want to do it, for what they get paid for. Nobody. And that worries me, because when I'm no longer here, I wonder what's going to happen to them. So maybe it's not going to be now, but we gotta worry about the future. And what we do now, really, it's something you work towards the future. If we get nothing now, then the future we're never gonna get anything. So we need to try to get something now, so in the future we build on that. And then hopefully someday it become to a point where people want to do this work, and people don't mind doing things to provide care for an elderly. I'm talking now. We're looking years from now. Maybe not elderly, but older. Like they're men now. They're now men. Then they're young men now, but they're maybe middle age or older men. In the future, can no longer be there. Somebody have to provide that for them, and maybe they will want to do that now because the incentive for them to do it is there. But at the point as it is now, that's not happening. And that worries me, that if we don't get anything now, it's going to make it so that it might make it impossible for us to get something in the future. Because, like I said earlier, this is the third bargaining session that I've been with. And I guess because in the last two, they got away with no wage increase, they think they can do it again. But we don't want to do it anymore. We don't want to stand for it. We don't want to say, okay, we accepted no wage increase last time. Maybe this time we'll not accept it again. Maybe next time. No, there's no next time. It is right now.
People age and people get, unfortunately, more ill as time progresses, and different people have different situations. But how can we deal with these situations when we're not getting the support from where we need to get it, right? And that starts at the local level. That starts at the board of supervisors, right? And so I think my question, and I guess we could end it with this if y'all don't mind. My final question for you both is, do you anticipate them considering some kind of an increase, or do you feel like it's going to be more of the same? And if it is more of the same, if they do decide to leave it at that zero, what are the next steps that SEIU will be taking?
I really don't know the answer to that, but I'm hoping that they will respond this time, and I think that we could make it happen. Because if I didn't think we could make it happen, I'll be wasting my time and I wouldn't be doing this. Because if I thought that it was pointless, then why go and fight? So we're fighting because we think we can do it. We think that this time around, maybe they will respond. Maybe with all the actions that we have done or maybe are about to do, either way, somebody will take notice. And if somebody starts to listen, and I think sometimes it's a big difference between listening and hearing. I think they'll be hearing us but not listening. And I think they have to a point to where they need to listen. And if we can get them to listen, if they can hear more stories about the struggles a provider goes through, not just the provider, but the family. Because what the provider brings in, it affects the entire family. It affects the consumer. It affects everybody. So I'm hoping that this time around, they'll listen. And I think we could do it otherwise, because I wouldn't be here if I thought they wouldn't be able to do it, because that way we're pointless.
That's a very good question, Anthony, and I agree with Enrique. I think as an organizer, I think that people, when they collectively act together, I think are able to accomplish more than they could ever accomplish by themselves as individuals. I fundamentally believe that, and I believe that in that this negotiations could be another example of that. And when we see what's happening across the country, right, with the last elections, or even with the resistance to some of the administration's proposals, we see that when folks get together, there's power in that. And I believe that that we could do that here in this county, that we can build that power. I believe that the community's behind the caregivers. I doubt that the community would ever turn their back, and instead I feel that the community will respond more. And I feel that if we continue to get a county's response in the same way, the same response from the county, then I believe that we're going to be able to actually organize more, to have more, build more power, to build a larger collective, because this issue of care for seniors is a community issue. The issue of poverty and addressing poverty is a community issue. It's right now, sure, we're talking about 26,000 caregivers and their 31,000 consumers, but if you actually think about all the lives that those over 50,000 folks touch, it touches a lot of folks. And a lot of folks, like what you shared about your own experience, a lot of folks have firsthand experience with caregivers, right? Needing caregivers for their loved ones. And so I think that we're on the right side of this. And so I'm very hopeful that, like in Monterey County, like in San Mateo, like in Shasta, like in San Diego, like in San Benito, like in Santa Clara, like in Los Angeles, like in Ventura, like in all these counties where elected officials at the county level had made the right choice, I feel that we can do that same thing here. And the other thing is that we as a union are not just ending in this or fighting this just for our caregivers. We see this as a community fight because we see other issues tied to this. So back in 2015, where this union became Local 2015, and I say that because a lot of folks always ask why you guys have 2015 on your shirts, right? They think that they're old shirts, but that's our local name because that's when we originated. And our officers at the time went around the state and listened. They did a listening tour. And what they heard is that caregivers really care about their wages and benefits, but there's all these other issues they cared about. So they care about the environment. And just to talk about the environment, I know we're in CCAJ's house right now as we're recording this, but the environment is very connected to a lot of the fights we're doing, because a lot of the ailments that our seniors have, whether it's asthma, right, or it's respiratory or heart conditions, a lot of different conditions are worsened or increase the your susceptibility to them by your environment. And we know that our workers, our members, and their communities and their families live in some of the most polluted areas in the state here in the IE, right? So we see that, together we can highlight other issues. We're also standing up for immigrant justice. So, we believe that there should be justice for immigrants across the country. We believe for restorative justice, right? That folks should be given second chances. That it shouldn't just be about incarcerating and creating a whole, economy behind incarcerating folks. And we believe in ultimately worker rights as well. We think that's super important. And another justice agenda item we have is housing, because all these issues impact our members. They say that they're impacted by all these issues, and we know housing is increasingly becoming a bigger issue here in the IE as we've seen the population growth. We've seen also, some practices being taken into place, or as what I heard from Alan and learned from his podcast, this other type of gentrification through warehouses, for example, right? The newest justice plank we have is disability justice, because so many of the consumers of IHSS and so many of the folks that get taken care of and need the care, they have a disability. And so we believe in joining forces with them and their causes as well, because we see them as one. We see all these fights as one. And we believe that this contract fight is actually about all these things as well. We don't think that it's only about the caregivers, only about their paycheck. It actually has ripple effects on all these other issues. So to answer your question again, I think we're going to see if the county keeps responding this way, an increase in folks sparking interest about our cause, and more folks joining our collective, and I think more pressure being added to the county. We don't want to get it to that level. We don't want to have to go to those means. But I think what you've heard from Enrique is what I've heard from the other 12 bargaining team members and the other activists and leaders like Enrique, is that they are fed up. They think 9 years without a wage increase is way too long. This county actually is financially, they're okay. They have a balanced budget. Their budgets keep increasing. Their budgets for these programs keep increasing. So there's no really reason, right? When every other unit they're bargaining with, they're proposing to give them wage increases, right? It's interesting. When you look at who's getting these wage increases, it's great. Those workers deserve them. Those workers deserve every single penny and every benefit they're getting. And it also, to me, sends a signal that why are you excluding this worker? Why are you excluding Enrique? Why are you excluding 26,000 caregivers in the county? It just brings up a lot of questions, right? And so to me, I think we're going to just grow more empowered.